Hey guys, Mr. Jenkins here. This will start chapter 9 for us. This first lesson is kind of a combination of section 9.1 and 9.2, but I'm going to call it 9.2 because that's the bulk of it. The learning target is I can identify the rule to define an arithmetic sequence, and I can use that rule to find the nth term of an arithmetic sequence. So example 1 here. Sorry, it's a little hard to read. Says a sub n equals 5n minus 3. So arithmetic sequences are linear sequences. So think mx plus b here. So if we want to find the first 5, then we just do a sub 1 equals 5 times 1 minus 3. So that'd be 2. I'm not going to show all the work there for all of them, but a sub 2 would be 10, take away 3, sorry, equals 7. And then from there, you're just counting by 5s, because that's my slope. A sub 3 equals 7 plus 5 is 12. A sub 4 equals 12 plus 5 is 17. And A sub 5 equals 17 plus 5 is 22. So that's kind of gives you a preview of what we're doing today. Also the notation. So remember, these are subscripts, and that number just indicates the number term of the sequence. So example 2, or I guess this is example 1, it says, is the sequence an arithmetic sequence? So what we're looking for there, remember, an arithmetic sequence is just a linear sequence. So do we have a common difference, also known as a slope? So how can we get from 1 to 4? Well, 4 minus 1 is 3, so plus 3. From 4 to 7, that's plus 3. And from 7 to 10, that's also plus 3. So we do have that, what they call a common difference with this. Same thing as the slope. So, so we would say yes in this case. If so, state the common difference. So we would say D equals 3. All right, and let's do another one. Looking at example B, says 2, 4, 8, 16. We definitely see a pattern here. We're doubling every time. But if we think about how to get from 2 to 4 you can only use addition or subtraction here. So that'd be plus 2, and the next one would be plus 4. So while we can see a pattern, you can see that it's doubling every time. It's not an arithmetic sequence. That's another type of sequence that we'll talk about this chapter. So this would simply be a no, even though we can clearly see a pattern there. All right, looking at example 2, wants us to find the next 3 terms. So the first part would be figure out what the pattern is, and then keep following it. So what's my pattern to get from 12 to 17, from 17 to 22? Well, we've already seen that exact example. We're counting by 5s here. So from 22, what would the next 3 be? 22 plus 5 is 27. 27 plus 5 is 32. 32 plus 5 is 37. So those are my next 3 of that sequence. Skipping B, going to C. I wanted to show you a decreasing one. Again, sorry, it's a little bit tough to see, but that says 12, negative 3, negative 18. If it's not obvious to you how we get from 12 to negative 3, you can always subtract. What's negative 3 take away 12? That'd be negative 15. So minus 15 and minus 15. So that's my pattern. My common difference is minus 15. So negative 8 minus 15 would be negative 33. Negative 33 minus 15, or plus negative 15, think about it either way you like, is negative 48. And then negative 48 take away 15 is negative 63. All right, so big picture stuff. on the next one, what if you were asked to find, what if we said, what's the 11th term of that? So there's a couple ways you could do that. Obviously, they've listed us the first three. We can identify, what are we doing here? We're counting by sevens. So we could just keep adding 7 plus 7 plus 7, right, until we got to the 11th. We'd need to find the next 8 terms, right? But we're not going to do that. We are going to get to the part where we actually write an explicit formula. Okay, now the forms of the form looks a little bit different than mx plus b, but it's the same kind of deal. So this is what we want to look at right here. So an explicit formula, arithmetic formula is written in this form. A sub n equals a sub 1, which is a fixed term, plus n minus 1 times d, which is the common difference. So we actually are going to sub in there. We have to substitute there, and we sub there. N is our input variable. That's we call that the nth term. So going back to the last example real quick. Lost my paper. So the first thing that we need to remember is that a sub 1 equals 6. So that's one place we're going to sub in. And the other important thing is that we found the pattern was plus 7, so d equals 7. So just a reminder of what we're working with. Sorry about that. D equals 7. So a sub 1 is 6, d is 7. So my explicit formula to describe that would be a sub n equals 6, which was my first term, plus n minus 1 times the common difference is 7. All right, so now I have my explicit formula, and remember we were asked to find the 11th term, so we're going to use that and find a sub 11. So that'd be 6 plus 11 minus 1 times 7. So basically just 6 plus 10 times 7, or 6 plus 70. So our 11th term would be 67. Sorry, obviously that's 76. Sorry about that. 70 plus 6, again, obviously 76. Okay, so moving on, doing that a little bit more, B wants us to find the 46th term of this sequence that starts at 3, 5, 7. So right off the bat, we know that our first term, a sub 1 is 3. And then after that, what's the pattern? Well, we're doing plus 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. So recognize that D equals 2. And so our formula, our explicit formula is A sub n equals 3, our starting point, plus the quantity n minus 1 times 2. Don't know why they don't put the 2 in front like we're used to, but maybe it's just so you don't distribute, because we don't really need to. You know, on that note, if we did distribute and combine like terms, we would just have an mx plus b equation, but this is the form they wanted in for these. So anyways, a sub 46 is going to be 3 plus the quantity 46 take away 1 times 2. So that would be, I'm going to find it on my notes here. 45 times 2 is 90. Yeah, 90 plus 3 is 93. And if you can hear that in the background, that's just my wife getting a workout in, so good for her. So anyways, example C, find the 110th term, starts at -5, so we're going to say a sub 1 is -5. It's decreasing by 4 each time, so D is -4. All right, so then we go a sub n equals -5 plus the quantity n minus 1. Now, you don't want to just put -4 at the end. You want to put that in parentheses because -4 would just be -4 instead of times -4. And then we're going to find a sub 110. So -5 plus, 110 minus 1 times -4. So that would just be -5 plus 109 times -4, and that's going to give you -441. -441. Obviously, just punch that into your calculator. And just on that note, I would just punch in -5 plus 109 times -4. I wouldn't bother with the 110 minus 1. Anyways, couple more here. Next one says find a specific formula. So we've already kind of been doing this. I'll probably just skip that one then. And so if it just wants the formula, well, I'll just go ahead and do this. So if it wants an explicit formula here, you do what we were just doing. So identify a sub 1 equals 10. We're decreasing by 4 each time, so our common difference is -4. So our answer here would be the formula. So a sub n equals 10 plus the quantity n minus 1 times -4. So that's all they're asking for if they want the formula. All right, and then last one, find the missing terms. So here, I guess what's important is that you recognize that we're going from 80 to 125, but there are 2 terms missing there in the middle, right? So you're kind of thinking about, your brain thinks in a way of like finding an average here. So, my first thought would be, what's the difference between these two? And that would be 45, right? So then you're kind of thinking, what's 45 divided by 3? Because we have 1, 2, 3 spots to have to fill. All right, so again, my thought process here was, 125 minus 80 is 45, right? But we don't just jump from 80 to 125, or my common difference would be 45. It's 1, 2, 3 spots to make up the plus 45. So 45 over 3 would be plus 15, right? So we're adding 15 every time. So 80 plus 15 would be 95. 95 plus 15 more would be 110. And then you see if we add another 15, we get to 125. So you can kind of check your own work here as you go. So it's a little more formal on your notes as well. So kind of different way to think about it. All right, so the next one, over 4 terms, we decrease from 146 to 78. So here you're kind of thinking, what's 78 minus 146? So that would be, let me just figure that out real quick. All right, so that'd be -68. So then you're thinking -68 over 1, 2, 3, 4. you're finding 3 terms, but they're, it's that 78's 4 terms away. So that would tell me my common difference is minus 17. So that's our pattern. Okay, so 146 take away 17 is 129. 129 take away 17 is 112. And 112 minus 17 is 95. And just double check, 95 take away 17 is 78, so we're good. So the last thing I wanted to cover with you guys is a term you might run into on the homework called arithmetic mean. So if you're only 2 terms apart, recognize all you're doing is just finding the average, right? Or in this lesson, they'll call it the arithmetic mean. So arithmetic mean. So the formula is just x plus y, so 2 terms divided by 2. So in this case, to find our missing term, we're just finding the average of those 2 terms, which is the direct middle of them. So can we follow the same steps we did on the other ones? Sure, you could, but just to say, if we're 2 terms apart, we can just find the average. So that's 74 over 2, which is 37. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. That's 88. 88 over 2, which is 44. So 44 would do the trick. Now, if I just would have done 53 minus 35 to get 18 and divide that by 2, I would get that I'm 9 away, so 35 plus 9 is 44. So you can do it that way too. But anyways, that's our first lesson. So a lot of this is just number sense, recognizing patterns, and whatnot. You don't always have to be so formal, except when they ask for the formula. You'll want to look at the notes and make sure you know how to do that. Anyways, good luck. I'll have a Zoom meeting tomorrow if you're having any trouble, and appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.